Hey everybody, this is Helen Mitas and I am so happy to be speaking to you today. So if you are listening, please let me know by telling me where you're from. If you're watching a replay, please put hashtag replay in the comments so that I know that you are watching. And today I am answering Trevor Malloy's questions. So I did put a post up a few days ago asking what do you want me to do a live on, and a number of people put questions, so I'm doing a live a day. And that's my intention. My intention is to do as many lives as possible, preferably one a day, and to be answering your questions. So this is Helen Mitas, and I'm here to help you remember your own magnificence. That's what I'm here to do. That's the whole point of everything that I do, is to help hypnotherapists remember how amazing they are so that they can help their clients remember how amazing they are. It's all about remembering. That's all it is. And so I want to remind you that, whatever I go through today and every day is always just my opinion. So, we need to be really aware from all our teachers and all our trainers that it's their opinion. And more importantly, more than anything, you need to be resonating with what your truth is more than ever. So all that I give you is my opinion. Okay, so the question that Trevor asked in the comments was, how much information do we give our clients in terms of how the conscious mind works, how the subconscious mind works, how the superconscious mind works? How much detail do you give them? And that's a very good question, really good question. And the answer depends on who is sitting in front of you. So sometimes we have clients who are really analytical and they need to know how it all works. And so you do need to give them quite a bit of information in terms of how it works. But this is the actual benchmark in terms of what I do, which is to give clients and prospects enough information so that you are credible and that they understand that this is not woo-woo crazy stuff, that this is science, and to give them enough information but not too much so that they become overwhelmed and the information becomes insignificant, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. If you're watching, please let me know that you are watching. And so this is how I explain it to clients who say, well, how does it all work? And so I brought my whiteboard here because that's what I do in the room when they say, how does it all work? And so I get up on the whiteboard and I'll say, well, let me explain to you how this works. Okay, so once again, I give them enough information so that they understand that this is based on science. It's not woo-woo crazy stuff, and not too much so that they become overwhelmed with what you're saying to them. So I say, so this is how it works. Hypnotherapy is not woo-woo crazy stuff. It is based on science. It is a state, a conscious state that you actually go through every single day of your life. And every single day of your life, you go through various different levels of consciousness. And so let me describe the main ones to you. Okay? So if you look up brain waves in the, you can just Google brainwaves if you like. Above beta, we've got gamma. And gamma is the hyper alert state, quite often the state that we experience when we're in anxiety. But I don't talk about that because then that confuses the client. So I don't actually talk about the gamma state to the clients. I start at beta. That's where I start, because that's all they really need to know in terms of the different levels of consciousness. We don't want to make it more complicated than we need to. Many of you would know that when I finished university in the late 80s, I was actually a secondary school teacher, And so the way that I explain concepts to clients is with the intention that they actually understand what I'm saying. It's not about appearing clever or appearing, wanting to overcomplicate things. It's about teaching them in concepts that is easily understood. So what I would actually say is, okay, so right now we're speaking consciously. And consciously means that what is actually happening with our brain activity is that we're in beta. And so we're talking consciously, and that's where we are. We're in beta. And then what I say is the next level down is alpha. And alpha is when you're in a nice, relaxed state. And in that relaxed state, the subconscious mind is engaged. So for instance, when you're watching a movie and you get caught up in the movie, and so it's good to give them an example with each state. So with beta, I said we're just talking consciously. We're in beta right now. So I gave them an example of what that feels like. In alpha, when you're watching a movie and you get caught up in the scene, and what actually happens is that critical faculty, which is the analytical mind, gets suspended. Because if the analytical mind was actually watching the movie with you, you'd be saying, oh, that's crap, that's just Tom Cruise. That's not really happening. But what actually happens is that the critical faculty gets suspended, and then what happens is that we're going, oh my God, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? At that moment, when the critical faculty is suspended, we are accessing the subconscious mind, which is here. The subconscious mind. But we're in a very, very relaxed state. And another example that I give is when we drive a car, and at the beginning, when we first learn to drive a car, we're in beta because we're very conscious of where we have our hands. I remember that my driving instructor, he used to say to me, always put your hand at 10 to 2, okay? That's the way you hold the 10 to 2. He made sure that every time I was changing lanes, that I made sure that I wasn't just looking at the mirrors, that I did actually turn around. And so it's all very conscious. But now, of course, we drive from one place to another and we don't know how we got there. And we automatically turn around. I know that I do every time I shift lanes. So now the way that we drive, we're actually operating in a relaxed state, in alpha. Unless, of course, we're very nervous and we're thinking about something else. And then one state below that is theta, and that's when we're in a deep state. And the way that I describe that deep state is when you wake up in the morning and you can still hear everything. Now, I think that's really important to say that. I think it's really important to say you can still hear everything, because quite often if you don't give that expectation to clients, they think that if you can't hear everything, that's hypnosis. So that's why I say you can still hear everything, but you're feeling very heavy in the body. You can still hear what's going on around you. And if you wanted to, you would get up really quickly if you wanted to. So that is where you're in a deeper state and we're still accessing the subconscious mind. And delta is when we're falling into that dream state, the sleep state. Now, we're accessing the subconscious mind when you're in alpha or when you're in theta. So what I say to them is, so again, setting expectations is absolutely key. People who do my retreats know that I talk about expectations non-stop, okay? So it's very important that we talk about expectations to clients. So I would say to them, depending on which part of the program you're in, when we're actually removing those negative emotions and those limiting beliefs, you're actually in the alpha state. When we're doing deeper trance work, you're in the theta state. Either way, we're still accessing the subconscious mind, so that they understand that what their perception of hypnotherapy is can vary. You can go from alpha to theta, but what we don't want is for them to go to sleep. And it's our job as hypnotherapists to make sure that we keep you in those two states. And that's as much as I would say to clients about the various states. So I don't talk about the superconscious. If they ask a question, then I might, but my belief is whenever you're giving information to clients is you give them as much information as they need and they're asking for, so that you are appearing credible, but that you're not overwhelming. Okay? So I actually think that it's very important that you do read up and you do understand what you're saying. As an example, when I was, specializing in depression for many years, I literally helped every single week in, week out, 25 depressed clients a week, which meant that I used to see 100 clients a month for depression. I made sure that it wasn't just what I had learned through my training courses, that it wasn't just about what I had experienced when I was depressed. I made sure that I read every study I could get my hand on. I made sure that I understand how neural pathways worked. I made sure that I understood how antidepressants worked, so that I was well versed in terms of explaining what depression is, so that I could get up on the whiteboard, and this is what I teach my hypnotherapists too. I could get up on the whiteboard and I could draw what was actually going on with neurotransmitters, neurons, neural pathways, and so on. So if you are specializing in a specific area, make sure that you do read on, the medical evidence to back up what you're saying, because that way the client has confidence in you as a therapist, okay? And that is very important. Many clients are highly analytical and they need to understand how this works from a scientific perspective, that it's not just woo-woo crazy stuff. Other people already have the expectation. So it really does depend who is sitting in front of you, and, making sure that, if possible, every consulting room that we have here has got a whiteboard. So not all the whiteboards are stand up, but you might have one that you just want to, write on. We've got another one in the room which is on the actual wall itself. Quite cheap to get, to actually just put it on the wall. And that way you're able to stand up and demonstrate. And that way the clients have a lot more trust in you as a therapist. And let me tell you that them having trust in you as a therapist will make a huge difference in terms of their outcomes. They need to actually trust that you know what you're doing and that they're in good hands. And in fact, what studies show is that is the number one factor to a client's success, is how confident the client is with their therapist. So I hope that's been helpful. Just to let you know that meetup is coming soon, which is going to be absolutely phenomenal. We've already got 80 people registered, which is, we've got Dr. Petra Fress, and that is on the 2nd of March. We will be in the USA time zone as well, because she is from the USA, and that's going to be at 10 a.m. Melbourne time. And she's going to be talking about the other side, which is absolutely fascinating to me. So by the other side, we mean the other side, our spirit family, our family of light, our galactic family, our angels, the whole team that we all have, which have our back all the time and are always around us. So Dr. Petra, who is a scientist and an engineer, she has had 3 near-death experiences. The first one being for 6 hours and 40 minutes, and 3 out-of-body experiences, and she's going to be talking about that at the next meetup. So if you want to know more about that, just go to our events on this page, and please join us. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. I cannot wait. So we'll see you again tomorrow. I'm going to have live Q&A tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. in the Hypnosis Business Success Facebook group. because that's what I do every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. But as much as possible, what I've decided to do to support my groups are to show up as much as possible. So every day, my intention is to show up in some way. So I hope that's been helpful, guys. Reminding you of your magnificence, because you are magnificent, and you're way more magnificent than you think you are. Okay, see you later.